Bethany TV, for health.
You so much welcome viewers of Nutrition, Sports and Bethany Television. My name is Gift Nakainga. Today it is the 7th of December, year 2023. We just about time to get done with year 2023 and get into year 2024. But as we plan to cross over to the next year, we want to cross over with the right health information. So today on the Nutrition Spot, we want to look at food labels and the nutrition information. We want to understand the sources, the authentic sources of that information that we need for our health. With me in the studio, I'm honored to have a team of experts. I have a nutritionist and a dietitian, and I have also a senior nutritionist, you know. She decided to go ahead and master into human nutrition. Allow me to take this honor to welcome Rwanyaga Akim and Natege Regina to say hello. And I'm going to tell you much more about my experts in the studio tonight. I'll start with you, Akim. You're so much welcome.
Thank you, Madam Gift. This is Rwanyaga Hakim from Nest Nutrition Consultancy.
Thank you for coming through.
You're welcome.
You're welcome, Regina.
I am Regina Nantege, and I'm a dietitian at Impact Nutrition Company with the creators of the Lia Dietitian app. We are happy to be here.
Thank you so much. They didn't even wait for me to, you know, to talk all the sweet things about them. But you're so much welcome. We're glad to have you. We believe we're going to have a good time here of learning, relearning, unlearning, and everything. For I'm not going to say for a while, but it's been a culture of us going into the supermarkets and do that kind of shopping, yeah? You walk the aisle, you go into the grocery and, you know, pack things and buy. So surprisingly, I think it was this week when my sister came in my house and then she decided to discard of my spices. And she was like, these things are expired. You don't... So it was that bad, and I started thinking, can you imagine? You can be too busy, newera birogena mchiyungo kebera over spices zoina, over like blue band achaliko, over
True.
Over bishaliko babiri expired. So I imagine that, do we even check the expiry dates when we are into the supermarkets buying stuff? So tonight we want to look at the labels that are on the foods and then the information that is onto those packages where we buy food, the packages of the foods that we buy. So I'm going to start with you, Akim, to give us a clear description of a food label.
Thank you, Madam Gift. Good evening to all of you, our viewers. So officially, Madam Gift is using this chance to really dive into the topic. Yeah, we are going to explore what nutrition information is all about. Nutrition information, it is anything, any information that you will get in regards to food we eat and everything that we drink, anything that nourishes our bodies, that will be nutrition information. And we are also going to look at food labels. These are the kind of things, they are the attachments, they are the descriptions that we find onto nutrition products that we buy in shops, supermarkets, that tell us the different details about this food. That is what we are going to be exploring tonight.
Thank you so much to you, Regina. Should we say that we can only get this information when we walk into the grocery store, when we go into the supermarkets, or we can get the information elsewhere?
Well, nutrition information in its sense is something that's available beyond packaged food. Nutrition information is even available for a food like a banana when you eat it without packaging, or when you take a glass of water, it can also have nutrition information saying, does it have salts in it? So that's information on the nutrients that are there. Do we need to only get them on the packaged food label in the supermarket? No. Okay. We can get this information from databases. We can get this information from platforms that do nutrition analysis. For example, on the Lia Dietitian app, we have information on a particular food, and we can see in the pictures that we have a plate of food that, let's say, has matoke, and we say this matoke has this particular nutrient, it has this amount of calories or energy. But when we go into the packaged food, the nutrition label he was talking about, that's there to give the consumer information. Since he was not there, he or she was not there in the production place, it provides information on, did this food have energy, and what is the ingredient in this food? When Akim was making the cookie, did he put sugar? Did he put rice flour? What is there? So the consumer perceives and says, if there was milk in this and I'm allergic, then I will not use it. Okay. So that's the difference between the food label on a packaged food versus the information that we can get about a food anywhere.
If you say the information that we can get about a food anywhere, I'm thinking that what is that anywhere? Because if I'm just getting my matoke and it's not packaged, how am I going to get to know that this is what it has? It has these calories, it has the amount of fats that are like this and all that. How do I get to know? Because now maybe I would explain that for some reason in this the medical or not the nutrition kind of field, you will go to the or maybe Google, wherever, and then check a UTI, urinary tract infection, and then they'll bring a whole lot of things. So if I can't put in matoke, I might not get the information I need. So for nutrition information, where else, which avenues do we have to access that kind of information?
The main source of the information is the researchers who go and say, matoke from Uganda, let's analyze it and see how much carbohydrate is there. These researchers publish articles, and then people like the Nutrition Society extract that information and make nutrition tables informing all of us. But what we have done at the Dear Dietitian app is that we have extracted this information in ways that are easy to use for you and I and the consumer. You search a plate of food, you say I want to eat matoke, you search and you see a normal Ugandan plate of food with matoke.
You search from the app?
Yes. And
okay.
It has its information. So it's easier for you, instead of searching the Google and number of research articles, you have information tailored to that particular meal. And there is more, because you can consult an expert on what the composition of your food is. You take a picture of what you've eaten and you share it with the dietitian, because they have the softwares to analyze and say how much is in here. They will give you the feedback on the meal. This is important because just like the packaged food, you then have knowledge of what you're taking in versus what you wanted to get. And okay. I'll just give a small example of something that's common to both of us, Akim and I as nutritionists, anemia. If anyone has been to a hospital, they will check their HB and see, is your hemoglobin low or high? When they find you with a low hemoglobin, they are going to suggest that you eat something that has enough iron in it. And maybe they will send you to the pharmacy, like you talked about. And in the pharmacy, they will say, oh, you need to take in, let's say, 10 milligrams of iron every day. So they'll give you a tablet that provides you that 10 milligrams of iron. So for those of us listening to us, our nutrition facts or information is like that dosage information that you have on a tablet. For the example of iron that I'm using, for food, we translate it to saying, have some liver. If you have a piece of liver, you'll get 5 milligrams of iron. So you need 2 pieces of liver to get your 10. So that's the translation in a way that people can understand it. It's our doses.
Thank you so much, Regina. I think now dosage is not about the other tablets, yeah? Yes. But dosage is now in food, because for some reason I was wondering if they say that you need to take a lot of zinc. I don't know what they mean a lot of zinc, because if they tell me that you need to take Panadol, they will put for me 2 times 3. Take 2 tubs of Panadol 3 times a day, and I will understand. But how about the nutrients that I need for my body now? Let's zero down to understanding the kinds of nutrients that are in these kinds of foods that we buy that are labeled, and how can I make a choice on the nutrients that I want for my body. Akim.
Okay. Once you go out to buy any food from a shop or a supermarket or any other place, we always find that we get lost into how we are going to make the different selections between the different foods. One of the things that we need to always consider out, they are the kind of nutrients that we are having in these particular foods. Particularly, these foods will extrapolate to us. They will tell us that maybe they are composed of carbohydrates, proteins. We get the different nutrients, the fats, the micronutrients. We must be in position to identify what exactly we need into our bodies and what particularly we don't need in excess. One of the things that we shall always look out for, or we need to look out for, any food will be composed of, we have mentioned about the carbohydrates. If you check out the nutrition facts onto that label, we must always have that nutrition label whereby they are going to tell us the amount of carbohydrates they are having, the amount of fats, the amount of proteins. But particularly, things that we have to be conscious about, if it comes to fats, we must always try to limit the amount of fats that we are having into what we are going to consume. Yes, they could be important, but we need to always limit. If I find two products, I will try to compare the fat content of the two products. And in addition, when it comes to these micronutrients, they are always quite so essential, whereby for nutrients such as iron, zinc, and others, I'll always make sure that I select out an item that has more of such nutrients. But some nutrients like sodium, nutrients like, there are particular nutrients that we must be conscious over. If it comes to sodium, you'll need to limit such a component into this food. Yeah, just like how they are displaying for us right now, if you look at such a label, they are trying to tell us that you're having cholesterol, you're having sodium, you're having carbohydrates, but try as much as possible to limit the cholesterol that you're taking into your body, to limit the sodium, because all these ones, they are going to be impactful on your health. The cholesterol, it is going to affect how your heart functions. The sodium, people who are hypertensive, we shall need to limit the sodium. Therefore, if you're using such a product, you be conscious to limit the amount of sodium that you're taking in by making a comparison between these products. We always have different recommendations. Someone might wonder, how much of sodium should I take in? Look out for products that, in case you're going to eat much of that product, in a day, you shouldn't exceed 2,000 milligrams of this sodium. Meaning that if you're only taking packaged foods, make sure that the servings that you take in regards to sodium, they are not going to exceed a maximum of 2,000. That is to give an example. But as you know, much of these things, they are always individualized. Therefore, for that, I'm only giving it as an overview.
So, okay, they are, because I'm really, I think I should go to Regina. We have families, yeah? That if I'm buying products, okay, if I'm buying particular foods, I'm not buying for me, but I'm buying for the entire house. So if I'm having someone in the house who's not maybe restricted from taking particular amounts of sodium, how am I going to now consider buying?
Well, it's a bit easy, at least with this example of sodium, because of the fact that if you have a low sodium diet prescription, which is common for people who are hypertensive, most of the time it's lower by a small percentage. If he, as a Kim, he's not hypertensive, and we're saying he's supposed to take 2,400 milligrams of sodium, and for the listeners, that's our recommended daily allowance, that you should take in that amount so that it gives your body the function sodium has, but without exceeding. When I am on a low sodium diet, it will be just about 1,500. So it's not that I don't have to take a single grain of sodium. Most times people think when we tell them low sodium, we mean no sodium. It's totally impossible to have zero sodium. As a matter of fact, it would be lethal. It would cause you problems because you need it to do the functions it does in the body. So that said, it becomes easy for me to implement because I'm not on a no sodium diet, I'm on a low sodium diet. So as he was explaining on the serving sizes, when I read a pack and my goal is 1,500, if it's a pack of maybe a snack and a pack has 500 milligrams, that means I, as a person on a low sodium diet, I should only eat 2 packs of that food that day. I should not, so that even when I add in other foods which are not packaged, I'm just within 1,500. While him, who has no issue with taking 2,400, he shouldn't also take excessive, then he can stop on 4 packs, which gives him 2,000, giving us an allowance to take in some sodium from the unknown sources we might have unintentionally. So he'll still be within his limit. So it's not actually hard for us to balance for the family.
I really understand that, but thank you so much. I think we're just going to get into a break, but as we go into our break, just think about the moments that you walk into buying these food items. Do you take time to read what exactly you are buying? Do you take time to read the ingredients, or you just be like, I'm buying milk, I'm buying posh, I'm buying rice, and you don't take time to look through to see what is contained in a particular product that you are buying? We get into a break. This is Nutrition Spot. That navigating the aisle of a grocery store can be like decoding a secret language that you do not understand. But here on the Nutrition Spot, we want to break down for you the different information that we have on the food packages and of what importance are they to your health. Now, we've been looking at the nutrition information and where we can get the information. And we've said that it's important for you to read before you choose a particular product. So now I'm going to request our experts to make us understand. There are people who will say that maybe I'm allergic to this particular nutrient, and yet it is in that food. Akim.
Okay. Once you go out to a grocery shop to get anything that you're going to eat, always check out that label. If you're intolerant to a particular, if you're having an allergy for a particular food component, for example, some people will be lactose intolerant, whereby once they consume anything that contains milk, particularly it has lactose, that sugar, they are going to have different side effects. Take your time. You check that label. It will always be indicated that this product contains this and this allergen. It contains lactose. If not, you're allergic to gluten. Some people are allergic to gluten, whereby you always have to check out the label. You check it out and you verify that it doesn't contain gluten, instead of you getting the implications and later on we start suffering from expenses that we shouldn't have incurred.
Thank you so much. We believe that you can empower yourself and your family by learning to read and understand the different labels that are on foods. So, Regina, we have claims of organic food. We have people say that this is high in calories. Some say this has a lot of fats. Help us break down the different terms.
So the nutrition claims, and before I even dive into the nutrition claims, I want to mention that in case there is a food processor out there, it's their responsibility by law to label these foods. If you're not labeling the food, it's illegal. Because then, Hakim's example of lactose intolerance, low fat, they will not know what is in. But that said, the nutrition claims, when you've now labeled what is there nutritionally, you can now claim and say, for example, what you see over there, we have a product that has 0 fiber.
Okay.
That means it doesn't have dietary fiber. That means that I cannot make a claim and say that it's rich in fiber.
Oh.
So in addition to the claim, when someone says rich in this, you go and look at that number. That particular product can make a claim and say it's a good source of calcium. It's good for your bones because it has calcium in it. So that's what we mean by that, because it has calcium 200 milligrams and it has 15%, so it's meeting 15% of your daily recommended allowance. Talking about claims in line with organic, again, just like the law on putting a clear information on what is there, even the claim of organic has to be certified. Because for you to say something is organic, you have to know that all through the farming systems, no artificial pesticide, synthetic product was used. It's not just about you sourcing groundnuts from wherever, packaging them and saying they're organic, because organic does not necessarily mean all natural things are not organic. Something can be natural but not organic. Groundnuts are natural things, but maybe because in their farming process they were exposed to pesticides that are synthetic, they are no longer organic. So everyone who labels something organic should have sourced it in ways that are truly organic. And this is important for us to be true, because someone may be allergic to a particular inorganic component. So if you label organic and you make me buy that product, let's imagine for my 6-month child was just started eating, and my child gets a problem, then I can sue you. But that said, it's our responsibility as consumers to ensure we prioritize the products that actually have a label that informs us on what is there.
Thank you so much. Then talk about the servings per container.
The servings per container really speak to the usual quantity someone eats. For example, if we have 5 servings per this container, that means a typical person may eat just a portion, like a fifth of that container. Commonly though, most people when they buy something in a container, they consume all of it at a go. And also the serving is the amount of calories per volume. So if a serving is 170 grams, let's say 4 spoons of that, that means that in those 4 spoons, as an example, that's where the 150 calories are. If you take all the 5 servings in the entire container, that's 150 times 5. So usually, actually, these packaging people inform us that eat only just 1 serving. A good example of the chocolate bars. They tell you eat just 1 serving, which is just maybe 3 bars of chocolate. That way you're taking in not excess. Then we go saying chocolate is bad because we are eating it in excess. You are supposed to have just 1 serving.
So we're going to come back to the servings because I need us.
If I can have an image of a food plate from our platform, it would help me explain this better. And the focus of calories is for you to realize that your body needs energy. We use energy every day, so we measure it in form of calories. When we have this measurement in form of calories, the food manufacturer labels the food or the plate and says it has maybe 400 calories or 500 calories. Now, I as Regina can know that I use about 2,000 calories a day because I'm not so active. I have a sitting job, so I don't use a lot of energy. That means that if I'm eating 4 meals a day and each meal has 500 calories, I meet my requirement of the day of 2,000 calories. So that can help you know how to purchase a food. That said, if I go into a supermarket and I'm going through the different shelves and I see, for example, a drink that has 500 calories, that means it is providing me a quarter of my requirement. But if this drink has just 500 calories and I look at it and it has 0 protein, 0 minerals, 0 iron, what he was talking about, nutrients, it has to be a nutritionally dense food. So that you're not just taking in sugar with calories, but no other nutrients. So it would be important that people don't only count the calorie in a food, but also the other nutrients that are in that food. So you're taking in a food that has nutrient density. There's a plate of food as an example. We have yam, minced meat with peas, and tomatoes. And we can show the nutrition composition of that food so that I know that when I have that meal, I have eaten this amount of calories. So I know that when I've hit my limit of 2,000 in a day, I shouldn't exceed. Does every layperson have to know this off head? Not necessarily. But us as the dietitians, we usually calculate and tell you that, okay, since this food has this much, when you're eating it, don't exceed. That's why they will say, oh, eat 3 pieces of yam. Don't exceed to 4 because you need just that. And that's how we get the results we get in our nutrition practices. Okay. Because the individuals are taking in just what's enough and not an excess.
So to those of you that do not want to listen to instructions, I know someone, she's so poor at listening at instructions, but it's very important because this will only help your health. It will help you transform your health to live a healthier and longer life. So you've mentioned about the nutrients, you've talked about the proteins, you've talked about the fats when I was asking you about the claims. So I want us to understand the different nutrients that are not appropriate or that are not recommendable in particular medical conditions. To you, Akim.
Okay, to all our viewers, all nutrients are quite important in our bodies, but we need to limit out particular nutrients when it comes to particular medical conditions or health conditions. For example, if any one of us needs to lose weight, it means that I will need to cut down on my energy intake, on my carbohydrates and anything else that will be giving me energy. That doesn't mean that you completely don't need this nutrient. We need to cut it down because of our intention. When it comes to someone who is hypertensive, I will need to limit sodium as much as I can, though we don't say that we have to completely get off sodium at all. But given its implication, we need to reduce it so that we minimize the effects that you're likely to get out of this condition in relation to this nutrient. We also need to look out for, if you go to that food label, you need to look out for the trans fats that are contained in this food, the cholesterol. In case you're having heart problems, you're having heart conditions, anything that is related to that, we shall need to cut out the cholesterol, look out for a food that is low in cholesterol, look out for foods that are low in saturated fats. How are we going to tell that maybe this one is low in this? That one will also be important to us. How we are going to tell for any food, if you want to take low fat foods, you need to limit their intake to 20 grams if you're having a serving of if you're having an energy a food plan whereby you're consuming 2,000 kilocalories. That's given an example. I told you that each and everything when it comes to nutrition, it is individualized. But for such a person who is taking 2,000 kilocalories per day, well guided by a nutritionist, I will make sure that I reduce the amount of saturated fats they are taking, that person is taking in, to 20 or less than that, to 20 grams.
If you say that they are well guided, I want to point out an example. We usually go for pork, or we usually see people go for pork. Aina akasani akalamba akapok. So does that kind of person need guidance? Is it good for him or it's not good?
We always, just like our dietitian here mentioned, that dietitians are here to help us. We don't need to have each and everything into our heads that, you know, pork has this much. But if you're having guidance from a nutritionist, from a dietitian, they will be in position to tell you how much of that pork maybe you're going to take in. They would have guided you.
So before someone goes to buy their pork, they should call Regina. Tell I'm trying to order 4 kilograms.
Borrowing from that example of pork, it's also important for us to realize that the food group analysis of a food, for example, when you say pork, or we can talk about it as goat's meat, if you say goat's meat or chicken, you know that you have a rich source of protein, and it also comes with a rich source of fat because of the fat around it by nature. So we already have those food categories which inform you on a large scale that this is commonly going to give me a source of protein. Now the nitty-gritties of 100 grams of this meat will give you 27 grams of protein. That's then where we then individualize it to your goal. I'll give an example of a bodybuilder for this protein example. These individuals have to take in a certain amount of protein because every time they work those muscles, they have to replace and take in slightly more for the muscles to build, and muscle is built with mainly protein. So that means that this individual needs a little more than me who is not doing a muscle build activity. So when I tell this muscle builder that, look here, because of your size, and your weight, you need 100 grams of protein every day. I'm not saying 100 grams of pork, because the pork or the meat does not all have protein alone. But I'm saying in 4 pieces of meat, you may get 20 grams.
Okay.
But that's maybe with your dinner. With your lunch, you may decide to eat beans. They'll give you some 20 more. That's 40. Then we are thinking, do we actually need, and that brings in the food labels, do we now need for this person to walk into a supermarket and buy a soda instead of buying a pack of yogurt? The question to the answer to this person who is a bodybuilder is, for the bodybuilder, instead of reaching out for a drink as a sweetened drink, reach out for a yogurt. And here is why. Because when you look at that yogurt, as we saw on the screen for one of the labels, you're going to take in an extra 30 grams of protein. So that way, nutrition information is important to you as an individual. Because you're weighing, you're saying, how do I catch up on my protein intake? You look at the sweetened drink, you're seeing 0 protein, 20 grams of sugar. You look at the yogurt label, it's saying 20 grams of protein, and you're saying, I'm looking for protein more than the sugar. So that bodybuilder is going for the protein, and the total in the day, they will have hit their 100 grams of protein. So when they go for their bodybuilding workouts, they will actually have a bigger impact than when they don't meet their requirements.
So maybe picking a leaf from what you are saying, do you mean that we should tubene goals nti oluzuka ku makya oba guno omwezi ngamba nti omubiri gwange gwetaka proteins zenkana bwe bati, oba omwezi ogujja netaaga nyongezeeko intake yange ya carbohydrates like that? Yes, kiba kirungi nnyo omuntu yenna, every person listening to us. It's not fancy or it's not luxury for you to consult a dietitian. No, it isn't. If you think about it, ekintu kyetukola fena, all of us, the one thing we do daily is eat. From the time you're born, after the babies cry and we're excited, oh, the baby is crying, the next thing we're thinking, is she suckling? Is she attaching to the breast, he or she? Because we value the intake of food. If we value it so much, that means we should value the consultation of that regard. So it's not okay for you to be just living life and not knowing what your nutrient requirements are. Yeah. It's actually not okay. And to all the people listening to us, make sure that you actually know what your individual nutrition goal is. Because Bethany TV is doing a good job doing sensitization. But we are here speaking to a broad population. It's important for me to sit down on a one-on-one with you. It can even be a 20-minute conversation. And I understand, what do you want to achieve? Do you want to have the same weight? Do you want to gain muscle? Are you expecting, for example? Do you want to get pregnant? Then I understand, for example, a person who wants to get pregnant, I understand that, okay, she wants to get pregnant. The nutrient requirement for iron is going to go up. The folic is going to go up. So Regina, who doesn't want to have a baby next year, versus the Regina wants to have a baby next year, the Regina wants to have a baby next year, will start working on their folic acid intake. That means when Regina walks into a supermarket and wants to snack on something and looks at a cake, for example, and sees carbohydrate, sugar, so mukeke ngenda banfuna musukali yeka, for example, and fat. Then Regina also looks at a pack of, let's say, Amarantha snacks, or looks at a pack of groundnuts and says, wow, the groundnuts also have some folic acid. Regina goes for the folic acid. Yeah, that's interesting. But Regina would not take that decision, even if Regina doesn't know the number of folic acid, 100 or 10 or 20, at least they say, oh, it has some. That's a step. Thank you so much. Our time is just running fast, but I think it's very, very important. Thank you so much. I feel like I've learned something. I don't know whether you are learning or you're just watching the program, but make sure you learn, because knowledge is power, but it can only be powerful when actually you apply it. So it's time for us to get out of our comfort zones and look out for the experts to make sure that they guide us on how we are supposed to eat. It's unfair actually to your body. Yeah. And I know we are out of time, but I want to say this. It's really unfair how when we buy clothes, we look out for the material, we look out for its feel. Was it made in Turkey? Does it have a label that says Germany, because I'm looking for something from Germany? But when we buy our food, do we investigate the same way as we are buying a cloth?
And this is outward. Yes, maybe I'm smart, but how do I feel? Your body, and your body's label is the label on the food you're taking in. That expiry date, that nutrient composition, that ingredient list. So let us take the same caution. Like we buy for our outer body, the appearance, and if indeed the inner feeling is superior to the outer appearance, then we need to read those labels.
So I hope you've noted that somewhere, that your body label is your the food you are eating. So as we wind up, Akim, I want us to understand. We've all, I think for now, we're going to we're going to make a year of us having these talks of nutrition information and all that. But they've kept telling us about eating a balanced diet. So help us understand, from all these servings, from all these portion sizes and all that, how do we ensure a balanced diet?
A balanced diet, right from the concept that we have always learned from our primary education. It must be composed of foods that are going to give us energy. It must contain proteins to help us build our bodies. It must contain foods that are going to help us in fighting the different diseases. So when you're consuming any food, regardless whether you're buying already a processed food or anything, just food at your home, make sure that it has those three components, whereby energy comes from the usual foods that we call emeri at home. The proteins, they come from the things we call enva, the fish, silverfish, green, the beans, the cowpeas. All those ones are going to help us in building our bodies. And lastly, make sure that one of the things that we always forget, they are the greens, things that are going to help our bodies when we are fighting off the different kind of diseases, the different infections. That's why we are having a lot of problems nowadays. People are getting sick over particular diseases, the non-communicable diseases. All those things are coming because we are taking less of these nutrients, the micronutrients. So for a balanced diet, make sure that on your plate you're having those three components in addition to taking some water.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Regina. Thank you so much, Akim. I think at this point of time we can call it a lecture. So till next Friday, I remain Gift Nakainga with my experts, Regina Nantege and Ranyaga Akim. Good night.